It's a fantastic place and I look forward to going every year, and I go without fail every year. It's just magnificent.
On the third night, I got the bite I was waiting for and picked up a rather nice fish. This is what I dreamt of coming here for, to catch fish of that size. It was yet another cracking Parco fish. This is my first time on Parco Del Brenta. I've got to say it's a cracking looking lake. It's quite a nice place. It's all broken up. There's a few little bays and it goes sort of round the corner there to my left, and then there's another sort of bay goes around the corner there, and a big spit sort of just behind me comes out into the lake. So it's a really interesting place to fish, and really controllable from the bank. You know, there's no big casts really, so you don't need to bring a bait boat or anything like that. I mean, some of the guys do, but your furthest chuck is about 80, 90 yards, something like that. So there's no long distance casting involved. So it really is a nice place to fish. So we got down here on the Saturday. We did the draw, and the weather was just horrendous. It was just pouring with rain. It had been really heavy rain as well, and the lake didn't look particularly alive with fish. You know, there is a hell of a lot of fish in there. I don't know how many, but there's a lot. But in the rain, they didn't seem to want to show. But we got in the swim. Me and Frank Warwick have doubled up in swim 13. Got the rods out, but unfortunately that night we got wiped out by a trailing sturgeon, and it wiped out all 6 rods to the point where we all lost about 60-70 yards of line each. There was no getting away from it. I think it just went through all 6 and then just carried on going, and wrapped everything together in one big ball. So that was great fun in the pouring rain. So we didn't manage to get the rods out further that night because of how torrential the rain was. We decided to try and catch up on a bit of sleep and get the rods out at dawn. So just as I was getting ready to get the rigs on and to blast them out, we had a phone call from a couple who just had a PB just around the corner fishing the bay in peg 17, and it was a cracking fish. And it's nice to see somebody break their PB. I think the fish was 66 pounds, so 30 kilo, and it really was a nice fish, and it was nice to see one of those fish on the bank as well, right at the start of the session. So the next couple of days weren't too bad in terms of the weather. The rain stopped off a little bit and it was quite dry, and the fish started to get really active. You know, we started to see fish on a regular basis.
Every year we do a draw at Parco, so first out of the hat Tuesdays and so on and so on. Me and Ed did quite well this year. We came out pretty good, and peg 13 that we got, some don't favour it, but I've caught quite a lot of fish out of it, and it had done a few decent fish before we got there. So we opted for that. It was the best of what was left, I think, or so we thought. And unfortunately, we'd had monster rain and it was flooded. It was 1.5 metres up, and that cold influx of water really made it very difficult, and the fish just didn't want to play the game. So we did struggle a little bit, but it came good.
On the third night, I got the bite I was waiting for and picked up a rather nice fish. So that's not a bad start to my first Parco fish. You know, a 57 pounder, that was absolutely awesome. But then shortly afterwards I received another bite, and it was yet another cracking Parco fish. Well, what an awesome brace of fish. You know, this is what I dreamt of coming here for, to catch fish of that size. You know, a 57 and a 62. It's just a phenomenal brace, and it makes the journey all the way to Italy worthwhile. So blown away, especially by the 62. Even though in the net the 57 looked bigger than the 62, but that 62 was just such a deep wrecking ball of a fish. An awesome fish, and yeah, new PB to boot, which is absolutely awesome. So it was quite evident that shoal of fish that was sitting just off me had drifted onto me. They were started to show right on top of the area. There were a few bubbles coming up as well, right over the spot. So I was confident of another bite. So I got the camera set up on the alarms and waited for that bite that eventually came. On hooking into that fish, I thought it was a really big carp. It just kind of stayed low and heavy and just plodded around quite a lot until I got it about 30 yards from the bank, and then it seemed to go on some real steady, relentless runs, just not flying off, but just steadily going, and then it popped up about 10 yards out, and I saw this big pointy tail, and I knew it was a sturgeon. Well, this isn't exactly what I was after. I thought I hooked into a massive carp, but it turns out to be a mid 50-pound sturgeon. So yeah, let's get the rod back out and hope for a carp next time. Well, after I caught that sturgeon, the rain started again, and yeah, it's pretty much rained for 2.5 days. It's been a little bit miserable, and that's kind of killed the fishing, really. You know, the fish have stopped showing, the bites have stopped, and it's been tricky. You know, the lake has not produced as many fish in the rain as what I thought it would do. So at this time of year, I mean, I can't say because I don't fish Parco that much, but certainly this session, it seems that as soon as it rains, it slows things right down.
Well, I've been lucky enough to fish Parco many times. I've fished it in winter, summer, spring, autumn. Been there every part of the year, and I went for the first time at the end of November. I think that was 2017, and I went with my son Guy, and we fished peg 17. This was before the snags in that bay were removed, and we found the fish were close in actually, and I had a 58 pounder on a method feeder on the drop, and so I cast a method feeder the size of a cricket ball in with a 4-inch hook length with a match the axe little wafter on it. I thought I'd foul hooked a fish on the way down. I was counting it down, it was 6 seconds for it to hit the bottom, quite deep water, and it suddenly ripped off, and I thought, oh my god, I foul hooked one. I got it in, and it tried to eat the entire feeder, and the rig had shot out of the ball and was down in its throat. That was quite memorable. Later on in that session, I had a 70-pound 4 common, which was quite interesting. And we had loads of fish, but it was fantastic fishing. Right, these are 4mm Veronese pellets, which are the lake's pellet, which is the staple diet of the fish really. They see tons of it every week. It's a brilliant pellet, by the way. If ever you come over to Parco and you're driving, make sure that you leave a bit of space in the van to take some sacks of these back. What I do is I wet it down with lake water, so I get it so it's dead tacky like that. It's quite, you know, I've added more and more water to get it right consistency. A little tiny bit on the top thin vein. Put the line down there, get a bit more, and then you make sure the hook bait's sat right on the middle of that lighter vein. They look pretty substantial, these method balls, and they weigh, would you believe it, 12 ounces. So my advice to you if you come to Parco is put 20-pound line on, and keep working the ball till you get it dead even and round. The hookbait's buried out of sight, don't worry about that, it'll break down a little bit and expose it, and the fish, when they're attacking it, will expose the hookbait. It's a wafter and it'll just fly straight into the mouth, hopefully. I'm using a size 6 Trakker clinger hook. It's a perfect pattern for this method feeder, absolutely brilliant, super sharp. Size 6 is what I prefer. I don't like using bigger hooks when I'm fishing the method. I think it's too weighty. When they're sucking all the light pellets in, if your hook's too heavy, it generally impedes, you know, good hook holds. And I've dropped a few when I've used bigger hooks, so don't go thinking that you need big hooks for this at all. I've caught them over 60 on size 8s, quite a few, more than a few, let's put it that way. So you see I've worked a ball in there, and it's that's about 12 ounces. As I say, make sure your line's strong. I see some people come with 12-pound line, and that when you get them kind of weights, it's ridiculous. The most you're going to be fishing on here is about 80 yards, which is easily doable. And just be confident in your gear as well. If you're bringing your own rods in a travel tube, I tend to bring 3.5 pound test curve rods minimum. So you want some 3.5 preferably for this, which seem pretty good for the job. Anyway, I'm going to whack one out now, so if you want to see nice steady progressive cast as well, more of a lob than a thrash, you know, take it nice and easy. You'll see it sail out, and I tend not to use a clip when I'm using the method ball as well. I don't want it hitting the clip. I do it visually, because when it suddenly hits the clip, you can smash the ball sometimes without realising it if you hit the clip violently. So I tend to feather it down with my finger to the spot that I'm already tuned into, you know. If you like using a clip, okay, but bear that in mind. This is where you leave the bail arm shut and end up with a disastrous one. That's another important thing as well, chaps. Really tighten up your line super slow, very gently, because you don't want to pull it along the bottom and pull it out of the ball. On this place as well, I'm going to tell you, I've caught loads of fish just on single method balls, just 3 rods banging singles out without any particular spot to fish to. If I see any fish fizzing or showing, just a single method ball on it's just perfectly adequate. You can spam over the top and it works, but if you just, you know, not got as much time when you first arrive, it's mostly a bit of a rush to start with. Just put 3 methods out without any baiting and it'll do perfectly well.
From what Parco can do, this week has not done as many fish, but I'm still really pleased with the fish I've had, and we've had a great social with some of the lads down here. It's been really enjoyable. But the tactics I've been using to catch the fish now, basically I've got a big baited area out there at about 70 odd metres, 75 metres. It's like I say, the fish have pretty much just been sitting beyond me. I've just seen one about half an hour ago, literally in that same place, sort of 50 yards behind me. So I've gone to sort of as much as I want to do with the boundary of my water without sort of feel like I'm encroaching on anybody else. And I've just put in a sort of large baited area, and I'm using the pellets that we get from here, so we can buy pellets locally. I've been using mainline cell and ISO fish. I like using a sort of fish meal boilie when I'm fishing with pellets, because it just kind of mimics the same sort of thing. A little bit of sweet corn for visibility, and I've got a few worms as well. I've been putting a few worms in there and chopping a few worms up just to create a kind of big baited area of all different scents and smells and everything like that. And because it's deep water as well, I've also been putting a bit of smart liquid on top, so it comes up through the water columns and hopefully drags the fish down. So that's what's worked for me for those 2 fish. And I've been fishing 2 rods on that spot. So I've been fishing a little hinge stiff, and then the rod that went with the 57, that was on like a liner wafter with a little ISO fish wafter on there, and that seems to have done the job with a few pellets on on the bag and just blasted it out there to the spot. But the 62 was caught on the rod just off the baited area. Now my intention was to fish that rod on a large PVA bag, and the first couple of casts I did that, but because of the pouring rain, the bags were melting pretty quickly, and I weren't sure that the bags were actually getting down to the bottom, because it's actually 25 feet, 26 feet out where I'm fishing. So I switched from the bags to, well, a method I haven't used for nearly 30 years. I used to use it a lot in the 90s, and that method is, well, the method. So it's got a really good reputation on this lake and in Italy in general, and a few people have caught on here in the past. And a guy had a couple of fish literally straight away and swim down to my right just by banging method balls out. So I thought maybe the method is a better way of doing it through the rain. And yeah, lo and behold, it produced my biggest fish of the session at 62 pounds. So all I was doing was fishing a really short hook link, one that Frank showed me earlier in the session, probably about 3 or 4 inches long, with a little ISO fish wafter on, just because it was more pellet coloured than the cell that I also had with me. And I was just making a really solid method ball, and then putting the hook link back over the top, and then burying that in the method ball, sort of slightly lighter than the rest of the mix, but still within the ball. And I was able to punch that sort of 75 yards without too much problem. And yeah, that's the one that went off with a big fish. So now is the last full day, and we've got to get on an early flight tomorrow morning, and it's due to rain again tonight. So I think we're going to have to sacrifice tonight's fishing, just because we don't want to pack up in the pouring rain, in the dark, because we've got to be off at round about dawn. So yeah, I think we're going to fish hard for the rest of the day, see if we can get another one. And the fish are a lot more active today now it's stopped raining, so there's always a slim chance. And yeah, pack up this evening and sleep down there and get off early in the morning.
Ridiculously, it's the last, well, it's not the last day, we're going a day early because of the flights, but struggled all week. Everyone thinks you just turn up at Parco and fill your boots, and it's like a machine just churning out fish. It's fishing, so things change. So we came out of the draw quite good, and we thought, do you know what, I've fished this swim before, I've loads of fish, loads of big fish, many times, and got it again, and it's been an absolute pig. This is the third fish between us. I had his big brace, and then this has come right at the last knockings. We've virtually packed up. It's forecast rain, so we're going to go early. So anyway, yeah, I won't keep it going too long. On the method again, put 3 out on the method at the end, after trying all kinds of things, going through the full repertoire, and then out pops this 41.6. But beautiful fish, eh? I hope you like it, and better than a blank. So quite pleased with it.